to say is our partner is going to shock the world because he is none other than the Shock Master!
All right!
The Shock Master!
I told you. Oh, God. Look at this motherfucker. He's so flat in his ass. Oh, man. So flat in his ass. Look at the size of him. I don't care who you are, boy! I don't give a damn who you are!
WCW showing us a perfect way to debut a new star. We're going to do it a different way though. We've got the King of the Ring tournament. That's coming up shortly, but first we'll get to a few matches that occurred leading up to King of the Ring. This one in Atlantic City, not for the United States Heavyweight Championship that Goldberg wields. It was a tune-up match, or at least it was supposed to be for Goldberg, but Big E answered the challenge despite being a part of that King of the Ring tournament coming up. You'd think he'd want to save his energy, but he's an energetic young fellow, and you saw him put that to use here, really bringing it to Goldberg and showing plenty of fight and talent, but going for the big ending a couple times here, and Goldberg reversing it and coming back with his powerful offense that we've known for so many years he possesses. Big E perhaps soon regretting coming out for this match, particularly when this happened. He turns around after that knee to the face, a spear connects, and you know when that happens, the end is nigh. Goldberg lifts the young contender up and drops him back down with the jackhammer. That'll be all she wrote. Goldberg wins in a fantastic exhibition match on Raw. Let's move across to SmackDown, and this month saw a great feud between the recently debuted Swerve Scott and Ricochet. On the last episode we saw Ricochet as part of the losing team with Eddie Guerrero. Swerve Scott actually pinning the Cruiserweight champion Eddie Guerrero. So Ricochet wasn't happy with that. He wanted a one-on-one match with Swerve. Swerve won the first one, and Ricochet wasn't happy with it, as you can see here. A rematch was scheduled, and Ricochet went about it a different way, surprising Swerve from the crowd and not winning over any fans with that move. The referee trying his best to restore order, but Ricochet really took advantage of it all. He piled on the offense and gave Swerve very little chance to breathe, which, you know, in fairness, is a very sound tactical approach from Ricochet. He just didn't go about it in a very sportsmanlike way. Swerve did muster a short comeback in which he showed off some great moves, but here going for maybe a tiger bomb or something of that nature. Ricochet was able to make the most of the damage he'd done earlier in the match, counter, move on to this move for only Swerve to kick out. He does land the shooting star press at the second attempt, but if nothing else, Swerve shows that he's got plenty of toughness to go along with his style and creativity, but this one popping Swerve straight in the nose, that ends it. Ricochet wins the rematch, and this continues a great feud between these two in the Cruiserweight division. Though, moving on to the light heavyweight division, Sami Zayn, speaking of people clawing their way by any means to a championship, here he is. He's got his opportunity with AJ Styles once again. This time Kevin Owens is allowed at ringside, as he was not all those weeks ago when Sami Zayn got his earlier shot at the title. So down comes Jeff Hardy, and he takes care of Kevin Owens himself, having had so much trouble with this pair from Montreal, and that left AJ Styles to finish off Sami Zayn in the ring while Jeff Hardy kept guard. AJ Styles retains the World Light Heavyweight Championship. Which brings us to the pay-per-view WWE's King of the Ring. Drew McIntyre versus Diesel, Dexter Lumis versus Orton, HBK versus Braun, and the place we're going to start is Big E versus Cena. Two of the upcoming youngsters in the heavyweight division, and Cena, of course, here in New York, showing off his Boston Glory Celtics jersey just to rile everyone up. The striking of Cena has been talked about before. It won him the early advantage here, and this would turn out to be a fantastic match, but not the match that either of them wanted to have. Because, of course, when you are aiming to be King of the Ring, you're aiming to win 3 matches in a row on the same night. So the idea of going through a grueling back and forth match is not what anyone would have in their plans. But unfortunately for these two, fortunately for us as spectators, that's exactly what happened here. These two, of course, a brewing rivalry, Cena being the one coming out on top most of the time in the past. But Big E has proven himself a very talented individual, and certainly here had moments in which he strung together some offense that was not just devastating, but impressive. You see it here. He hits the splash. He gets a pin here. That one would have been close. Cena comes back, and some creative offense from him. It sometimes seems as if, with Cena, his technique, or lack thereof, is sometimes what catches people off guard. But Big E, once again, with a little extra pomp and circumstance, hits another splash, and this is a close fall, but Cena kicks out. He won't kick out of this, though. The big ending, landing in a rather long match when you consider the tournament circumstances, and Big E advancing and quite happy with his efforts. Moving on, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, he has a chance at revenge against the largest man in the tournament. HBK, of course, being the smallest man in the tournament, the only light heavyweight, but he goes at it without fear. He goes straight for Braun. He tries to get him off his feet. He's obviously got speed on his size, but it's quite hard to get the big man down. He's not afraid. He's not scared, but Braun comes straight back at him. And HBK quite quickly realizing perhaps that he's made a mistake stepping through the ropes to face Braun Strowman. Although there it is! Braun going for too much. HBK finding a way out. Braun going for the power slam. HBK finding a way out. Kicking at the legs. Trying to damage the mobility of the big man. And look at this, the aerial assault. Could that be it? No, not even close. Not even close. It just made Braun mad. He throws HBK out of the ring. He throws him into the barricade. He throws him into the post. But HBK comes back. He's fighting with all his might. He rips the shirt off Braun Strowman, but once again, he's only made him angrier. Braun kicks him around. He throws him back into the post. It's just a complete mismatch in terms of size. And from here, unfortunately for the Heartbreak Kid fans, it's something of a massacre. A chokeslam is only the beginning. Up goes HBK. I don't know exactly what Braun calls that, but he lifts HBK off the mat like he's nothing, power slams him down, and it is Braun Strowman that advances to the next round of the King of the Ring tournament. Nothing Shawn could do. Dexter Lumis, talented individual. We've seen a little bit of him recently, but he's got a big test ahead of him in Randy Orton, former world heavyweight champion. Two quite cunning folks here facing off against each other, but certainly one with the greater experience in Randy Orton. Not so much in years, at least in age, but in years wrestled, certainly. And Randy Orton not really afraid at all at getting dirty. He'll break open the skin of Dexter Lumis. He'll stomp at his limbs, but Lumis proving to be a man that is hard to keep down. That head and arm choke of Lumis's is already shown to be quite a devastating maneuver, and he continues to go for it against Orton, and it puts Orton in dangerous positions over and over again. The ruthlessness of Dexter Lumis really cannot be questioned. He is a sadistic son of a gun, no doubt about that. But Orton, as sadistic as he may be, the technique is superior, and that doesn't mean that he doesn't find ways of trying to end this thing early, but he does take his advantage when he has it. It seems to be the problem only that Dexter Lumis just won't quit. He maybe is too tough for his own good, but we haven't heard much from Lumis to know if he's actually saving any brain cells. It may well be that he's got none to lose, and he may as well be this crazy. A really nice counter there with the dragon screw, and then once again going for that head and arm choke, Orton having to fight out of it. And I mean, you see here Orton just plugging away at the face of Dexter Lumis, but he refuses to go down. He refuses to submit. Dexter Lumis, if nothing else, is as tough as they come. And Orton is not getting the quick match he hoped he would out of the newcomer Dexter Lumis. You see that there, the reversal and straight back down into that head and arm choke. Orton in big trouble here. You can see his legs kicking. He's hurting. He's close. It's a tough one, but he manages to fight his way out. Sometimes Orton can be accused of not really wanting it. Obviously, the prize of being King of the Ring is enough for Orton to go to that dark place and find a way out of these really tough maneuvers. While Dexter Lumis goes for that hold once again, out of nowhere comes the RKO, the cutter, and finally that puts Lumis to bed. I don't want to even think about the types of folks that Lumis has put to bed himself. Bit of a creepy seems like. But let's move on to the next match. Drew McIntyre coming up against Kevin Nash. Diesel, one of the most formidable figures in WWE. And this is a horse-on-horse battle. This one should not last long. It's two humongous hunks of meat just slapping up against each other, and what more could you want as a straight man? A small powerbomb from Diesel, and whilst McIntyre kicks out early, Diesel's got plenty of tricks to keep McIntyre on the mat. He's not a technical wrestler by any means, Diesel, but he knows how to fight. Former bodyguard, street fighter in terms of style. McIntyre certainly more adept in terms of the pro wrestling technique, but Diesel's gotten by just fine on what he knows and how he can go about himself. The referee nearly getting too close to the action there. Diesel throwing McIntyre out of the ring, deciding that he wants more of the street-like elements, and slamming Drew McIntyre down on the barricade there. He goes for the powerbomb, but McIntyre counters. The big boot comes back the other way, and it could be it here for Drew McIntyre, but he does manage to kick out. And while Diesel has a go at the referee, he takes too long. Drew McIntyre comes back with the Claymore kick and then the DDT. And this is it for Diesel. What a big win for Drew McIntyre. Revenge over Diesel, who has got a win over him in the past. And we move on to the semi-finals as you see the bracket here. Orton versus Drew will be the match that we see after Big E versus Braun Strowman. Now, of course, Braun didn't quite have as physical a match as Big E had to endure. And you see right there that the advantage is very much still with Braun. Not just in size, not just in stamina, but also just in how he can easily knock him down. But you see there as well, Big E able to knock down the big man himself. And it's quite impressive, Big E. You see him able to throw him around here as well and knock him down again. It just seemed as though Big E was giving everything at the beginning of this match, and he was bound to grow tired. I mean, look at these big moves. It's a rookie error, it seemed. You see Braun reversing there, getting a few shots in, and Big E taking a big deep breath, especially after a kick to the ribs and a stomp to the ribs. It's a shame. The fans were certainly on the side of Big E, but he just ran out of gas here. And another kick to the ribs for good measure. Braun showing his incredible strength by picking up the so large Big E and then lifting him off the mat, only to slam him back down with the power slam and make his way to the King of the Ring final. Braun Strowman. Unbelievable run since joining the WWE, this band. But Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Here's another rematch. Orton got the win over Drew 7 weeks ago on SmackDown, so Drew out for revenge with the extra incentive, of course. This being the semi-final of the King of the Ring, a large purse and a big step up the rankings for Drew McIntyre if he's to defeat the likes of Randy Orton, the former number one contender to the Heavyweight World Championship. And he certainly gets to work here, but Randy Orton comes back and certainly doesn't pull any punches, goes straight for the kinds of moves that can take a man out of a tournament. Drew McIntyre's as tough as nails, though. He manages to not just fight his way back into the competition, but give Orton a taste of his own medicine, though Orton's a little better at that and gets back to it. The soccer kick. It connects, the referee is in the way, and perhaps that helped Drew McIntyre avoid the RKO there. Hits the double underhook DDT and then lines up a kick of his own, the Claymore kick, and it connects. And it ends Orton's tournament and puts Drew McIntyre into the final of the King of the Ring. Isn't he happy about that? But he took a lot of punishment on his way to the final. As you see here, it will be Drew McIntyre against Braun Strowman. And not the name that I believe Drew McIntyre wished to be matched up against after 2 grueling matches, but he comes out looking tough, looking mean, looking ready for this match, and has a proper go at Braun, but it seems like the bigger man has an answer for just about everything that Drew throws at him early on. Throws him around the ring at ease. I don't think Drew McIntyre is used to being manhandled like this, such a large man himself, but as is the freakish size and strength of Braun Strowman, and he gets ugly here, taking the fight beyond the ring, using the elements to his advantage. Just about every element he can find, in fact. The stairs, the mat itself, the concrete floor, my goodness. A reverse choke slam to the outside. I don't know how McIntyre has it in him to continue to fight back here. But fight back he does, and using his head, using his feet to good effect. But it just isn't enough. Braun has too much brawn. Look at that. He's basically evil. Look at this, just chucking him around on the outside of the ring. And how can anyone come back from that? Especially after the matches Drew McIntyre's been through. There's nothing left of him. He's a sack of potatoes, and he's been delivered to market. The Power Slam finishes his tournament, and Braun Strowman is your King of the Ring. What a run this freak is on. The King of the Ring for this year. And it's quite unbelievable, the idea that someone's going to have to beat this guy at some point. But we'll move to the NWA. And a match for the NWA Canadian Championship between the outcast of the Hart Foundation, Owen Hart, against the reigning champion, Christian. And a wonderful match this proved to be between two technical wizards. Owen Hart locking in the sharpshooter, and Christian with no place to go, forced to submit, and we have a new Canadian champion in the NWA, Owen Hart. There was another title match, this one for the United States version of the same title, the NWA National title, held by the Ultimate Warrior. He faced one of the Four Horsemen, Vader, and took the fight to him. Not afraid of anyone is the Ultimate Warrior, even the likes of Vader. But you see here the reason why people are scared of Vader. Absolute destroyer. The German suplex. Here comes the Vader bomb. You don't want to be underneath this man when he sits down. Oh, jeez. Oh, and he was going to go for the moonsault as well, but didn't quite get there. Unbelievable strength from the Ultimate Warrior to pick him up for an Olympic slam, but Vader manages to kick out of that, then goes for a similar move himself, only for the technical prowess that we all know and love of the Ultimate Warrior to come out, a cradle, a quick win, and a championship defense for the national champion in the NWA. The Ultimate Warrior retains. Now WCW, and we had their version of the national title, the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship on the line. That belt held by the Big Boss Man, and he was to take on JBL, not a person that endears himself to the southern WCW fans, having been he is a Texan, but he now proclaims himself from New York City, so a bit of a traitor. And for that reason, the fans weren't unhappy with seeing Bossman chuck him around here. JBL, all the same, still a very tough contender, and fights his way out of a Bossman slam here, and then keeps the shots coming. Big Bossman already busted open from earlier in the match, swings him into the ropes, and the clothesline from hell. There are few that can survive a lariat like that, and Bossman unfortunately falls to it. JBL, the new WCW United States Heavyweight Champion. In regional news, well, I mean, WCW is kind of regional at this point, but BCW out in Boston, another championship match. The champion, of course, Tommaso Ciampa, leader of the Triple Threat, coming to the ring with The Miz and Batista and Carmella. Defends here against Samoa Joe. A huge difference in size, but Ciampa makes up for it in the aggressive manner in which he fights. And you got to give it to him. Despite the size difference, Ciampa really makes up for it in any way he can. He's a crafty son of a devil. And you see here, great suplex from Samoa Joe. It's returned in favor by Tommaso Ciampa. That didn't end Samoa Joe's night, but this one does. Big old knee to the temple. And Joe, you can see that busted open as well, as is often the case in BCW. Bunch of crazy hillbillies. But Tommaso Ciampa holds on to his championship. He remains the BCW World Heavyweight Champion. Now into the international promotions. We've got a match from PWJ and Hiroshi Tanahashi coming out to challenge for the PWJ World Heavyweight Championship. Unfortunately, it's another big size discrepancy. Yokozuna, the current champion, and when he slams you down, you feel it. I can tell you that much. Hiroshi Tanahashi, though, fighting spirit all over the place. The high fly flow, it connects the first time, but not the second. And he's dragged toward a very ugly fate here. Yokozuna scaling the turnbuckle, coming down hard with the booty, and sitting on Tanahashi's broken body to retain the PWJ World Heavyweight Championship. A beautiful title belt it is, by the way, as well. But that'll wrap it up for this week. We'll leave you with a couple of the bloopers I ran into during my travels here. But on the next episode, it's a big one. SummerSlam. So tune in for that one. Thanks for watching this one, and until then, have a good one.